Running a little crazy here today. And that is because I got a surprise phone call. Uh, don't tell my middle one. But I got a little present for him when I go up there. He's asked me to bring his saxophone, and I had a little work done to it. So I'm pretty excited about that. It was ready today. So that's one less thing I have to do tomorrow or Thursday if I went and got it today. But that put me a little behind schedule for today. Today is gluten-free Cheez-Its. So we are making them from scratch. Yes, they make them. You can buy them in a box. And hey, U-Haul TV, you can get gluten-free Cheez-Its in a box, but at least around here, they're not easy to find. So I decided to take it upon myself to try to make them homemade. And my first batch, I actually did a practice batch because there were so many recipes. I wanted to try a bunch of different ones. This is what they look like. They range from this to like darker, like this. And they're okay, but if you listen, there's not a lot of snap to them. The darker ones have some snap. Flavor's okay, but it also wasn't a sharp cheddar. So today, I actually have a batch in the oven already that I made ahead of time. And that one I made with cheddar cheese. Now, my husband is a fan of spicy, so I'm going to show you with pepper jack how these are made and how they're made gluten-free. So you can shred this cheese by hand if you want. This is the way I saw it made, that I thought that makes it a lot easier. It makes it easy, makes it quick. I love easy and quick. So, and that's why my food processor also looks like it's already been used, because it has. So we're going to shred some cheese. And we're going to shred the pepper jack. It takes seconds when you use your food processor. There's one. This is 8 ounces of pepper jack. Let that go for just a second to get all the big chunks, which it did. Okay, and then I had never seen this done before, but he did it and it worked. So I tried it, and it's kind of weird, but it does work. So you make some space, get your blade down in there. Actually, he didn't make space for it, and I don't like it not being setting in there. So I'm going to pull some of that cheese out, and I can put it on top. All right. And then the next thing we need is a cup of flour. I have both kinds of flours, so I have my gluten-free flour right here. So we'll get that measured out real quick. And I'm going to need IT guy back. Get me some water, buddy. So a lot of the mixes, or a lot of the recipes, called for milk. And I found one, and I don't know, it just seemed a little too soft, the dough did. So put that away. And then that is just, you take a minute. This is just to coat all that flour, or all that cheese with flour. And you let that go. I said hi. So, and then IT guy's going to get me a couple of tablespoons of very, very cold water. All right, so we've got that all coated. It's in that little, that little, where it's all grated together. And then we take this back out. And we put this back on. And then we take a half a stick. I'm using unsalted butter for a couple of reasons. One, my husband doesn't really like salty stuff. And number two, you can control the salt better that way. It also calls for a little bit of kosher salt, which you can, this is hands down my favorite brand. And you can sprinkle that on top so it's like the actual Cheez-Its. I didn't do that on mine because they were a little salty. So we're going to pulse this real quick. We've got one little, it's not as cold as it was when I did the last one. We didn't put it back in the fridge, so it didn't chunk up quite as nicely. I got a bigger pad of it. I want to get what's left on the lid there. And again, for anybody else who's just come in, we are making homemade gluten-free Cheez-Its. And we're using our food processor because then we only need one basic set of machinery, which is awesome. So, and a little bit of that butter got caught right here, so I'm going to put that right in. And now we're going to add that blade back in. We're going to want to get that butter all redistributed in there. So that's important. All right, we're going to turn that on, let that do its thing. And while it's doing its thing, we're going to add that water. And it's going to look like it's not doing anything and look like it's not doing anything. And then all of a sudden you see the chunks coming. It's becoming dough. Woohoo! And then when it becomes like one chunk of dough, we will, well, this is doing something different than the other ones have done. Looks like it's got all the butter in there. Okay, we're going to turn that off. It's a much softer dough. So it might be because of the type of cheese that it is. But we're going to pull that dough out of there. First thing we're going to do is pull the blade out because this girl does not want to get cut. So that's the reason you use the cold butter. It makes it a little stiffer dough, but sometimes we just go with what we got, right? So, all right. Again, this may be because the pepper jack has more, it's not as dry as like a cheddar would be. So it's not quite as stiff of a dough as we had with the cheddar. However, that might make it easier to roll, might not. So we'll have to see. Now, the next thing, and I'm doing this on the bottom of a jelly roll pan because I have texture in my table, even with the tablecloth, so it would not come out smooth. So you kind of make yourself a rectangle of sorts, and then you're going to thin it out because we don't want inch thick. We don't want inch thick Cheez-Its. They can be bigger, but we don't want them thick. So they're going to be really soft. So we're going to put another piece of parchment on top. And we're going to start pressing that down. Again, trying to maintain that rectangular shape as much as we can. It's going to round out as we flatten it and then roll it in particular. So, but this kind of helps it stay in the shape. If we can keep kind of manipulating it that way. Less waste that way, because this is what I cut off of the last batch. So, which I can chill that and re-roll it and do that as well. So, but like I said, the more we can kind of keep it in its shape, the better. All right, now, handy dandy rolling pin. Hi Joanne, we are making gluten-free Cheez-Its today. for making them homemade. Because around here you can get them in some stores, but I go to Kroger, and I don't know if you guys have Kroger wherever you are, but my Kroger doesn't really carry them. So it's been kind of difficult to find them. Now, Meijer carries them, but the Meijer stores are a lot further away from where I live. And sometimes I don't want to make a trip just for one thing. So I figured I'd try making them at home. I made one batch, and I made it with milk, and I made it with like a Colby Jack, and I was not extremely impressed because I think the combination of the milk and the fattier cheese really kind of messed with it. So this time I found a recipe that used water. So I'm using water, and this happens to be pepper jack cheese, which is my husband's favorite. So we're hoping to make him a batch. And yes, I could buy his more conventionally, a lot easier. But I also have a batch that's already in the oven. So, and that's, sometimes that's what happens when you're gluten-free is you start trying to make things you would never make anyway, because you would just buy it in a box. But you start missing those flavors. So, and here's another thing. I think I've got that thin enough now. Maybe a little thinner. I went so far as to buy what they call a fluted wheel, a ravioli wheel, essentially. And it just really didn't work very well with the two that I tried. Because the dough kind of gets in those flutes. So that's not fun. And then to kind of even it all out again, so that you don't have different thicknesses, which the one guy that I watched, he was like, I don't care, I like it that way. And that's fine. I always say, when I'm doing stuff, you do you. So if you like it better that way, you want me to try that? It's awfully big. So we'll make a few. All right. With this, I'm going to do one other thing. I've got another jelly roll pan, and I'm going to just press down on it to kind of make it, see if I can keep it as even as possible. So we'll still have some waste, and that's okay. But that's what we got right there. So you can see how shiny that is. So there's a lot of oil in this. But okay, so I don't want to use the big square. I'll use the round one. So IT guy wants me to try some round ones. So we're going to do that. We'll do that around the edge up here, since we would have loss anyway up here. So I'll make about 3 of those, and I'll do 3 more down here. We'll see how those come out. If we're around that long, hopefully we are. And then that one popped out of the mold. All right, so I'm going to slide those. Would you open the oven for me, please? Ooh, these are really soft. So I'm not sure how they're going to do, but I'm going to peel them off. You know what? Give them about 2 more minutes. I think they'll be okay. So, alrighty. Got those 4, and I got 2 more down here. This one's going to be really thin, so it's going to end up probably really crispy. Or not being used. That's another possibility. So, we've got those. I'm going to set those aside for a sec. So, I agree, Joanne, homemade is pretty much always better. Now, sometimes it's not worth the trouble. We made a beef Wellington once, and it was delicious, but it's a lot of work take several days. And we decided that, yes, if we did this, we really didn't need to do it again. We did it once. That was enough. We would be happy to let a restaurant do it for us. So, and like I said, I got the fluted one, but they stick. So I'm just going to eyeball this, make them square without the little fluted edges. My husband won't care. I know him. So that's, you could use a pizza cutter if you wanted. You can use a knife. You could, if you've got a better ravioli wheel than mine, it might work. The nice thing is when you use gluten-free dough, you're supposed to let it sit for a little bit. So this is a way to make you do that. Wow, that was terrible. Those did not line up very well. So I'm going to try to mend those. We'll see if that works. If not, we'll re-roll it later. Again, if you're new here, just so you know, I do this live for a reason. I experiment live very often for a reason, because I want you to see that it doesn't always go as planned, and that's okay. I still think they need a little bit more browning. Give them like 2 more minutes. Okay, so then we'll trim off the edges here. Trying to take this off as I go so that when we're done cutting them, we'll be able to separate them and make this very easy. So is it me, or is it like I can hardly believe it's going to be a holiday weekend already? I know this is the earliest that Memorial Day can possibly be. And I don't know. That sounded like they were trying to get out the back door. So I hope it was closed. We have rabbits, and I never thought rabbits could be jerks, but our rabbits are jerks. And I know that sounds odd, but they literally know exactly where to sit to drive my dogs crazy. And they do it like every day. It's almost like they're doing it on purpose. And I know people think I'm crazy when I say that, but like the one day I have one window in my living room and my dogs lay on the back of the couch and look out the window. And those rabbits will sit right across the driveway. And the driveway goes along the side of the house, right across the driveway from where my dogs are, and just sit there. And they look at the window, and I'm like, you little jerks. It's like, why are you doing this to my dogs? So I should have flipped this the other way, but I didn't. Oh well, we'll just do this way. All right, we're going to put this in the other Jelly Roll pan, and then what you do is you separate them. Okay. IT guy's correcting the dogs, so he'll get the other batch here in just a second. I think these are going to come out really well. They're nice and thin. That's lovely. Ah, that one just rolled. It flipped over when I was doing the last little thing of them. So again, if you're just coming in, we're making gluten-free Cheez-Its. This batch happens to be pepper jack. So, which is my husband's, one of his favorites. IT guy's going outside to try to get the canines in order here. I say good luck with that. Especially one of them. Ah, that one came apart. Darn it. Okay. Again, we make our mistakes, right? Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Oh, goodness, guys. They're a little thin there. And they're not wanting to come off. It's making me sad. I think I'm going to get a spatula. Hang on just a second here. Whew. It is warm in this kitchen. I don't know what it's like where you guys are, but we're up in the upper 80s all of a sudden. We went from like 50s to upper 80s, which is rough. So, and quite humid. There we go. This was a better idea. All right, we're going to take this one that didn't want to behave, put that back on the new dough ball, and we'll separate these guys out. And I think so too, Christy. And the really cool thing is then you can make them with any flavor of cheese that you want. And I know regular Cheez-Its come in all kinds of flavors. So this way you can make them, and they're so easy. It's just, 8 ounces of cheese, a cup of gluten-free flour, some butter. I like the texture better, I think, at least with the dough. I like the texture better with water than milk. I think the milk makes it too rich and too soft. But then you just have to kind of separate them like this. And I don't know if it makes a difference to put a hole in them, but every recipe that I saw said to make a hole in them. So we did. And like I said, I have no idea if that makes a difference, but it's what we decided to do. So almost done with separating them out. And then, okay, I need a little more space. There we go. That'll help. All right. Again, I know this is not going to be everybody's thing. They're going to say it's not worth it, and that's okay if that's not your thing. Like I said, I'm seeing a lot of like moms of kids who were just recently diagnosed, and they're just freaking out because they can't live the way they used to. So, you know what? I just used regular gluten-free flour. It's the 1-to-1. I have King Arthur is what I have. That's the brand. Will you hand me a tissue? Will you turn up the fan just one notch, please? It's warm. I'm going to grab a little drink here real quick. Okay, so the next part is not hard. Like I said, every single recipe that I looked at said to make a hole in them. So I don't know if that was for aesthetics or, oh, I got 2 here. And they are different thicknesses, so some are going to be a little crispier than others. But anyway, all of them said to make a hole. The dough is easier to handle when the butter is very cold. Mine sat out for just a few minutes, and I'm amazed at the difference between this one. Plus, this particular cheese has a little more fat in it than the sharp cheddar. So Christy, if you will, like at the end when I say goodbye, if you'll remind me, I will put the recipe for this in the description. And that way you'll be able to get it exactly with what I have. So if you need that. So here we go. I also saw different times for and different temperatures for cooking. And I'm thinking what I've got here is better than what I had. So, all right, so now they've all got little holes in them. And IT guy is going to do me the favor of, because you've got the gloves, he's going to put the cheddar ones that we made and put in the oven right before we started over here. So I think they do get puffy without the, won't you bring the whole thing over because I think it looks amazing. Set the timer for 17 minutes. We went 19, I think, with those, but so. But then he's going to put the other set right here. Hopefully you'll be able to see them. I'm going to put this in the sink while he does that. Okay. With the cheddar, they're still kind of puffy, but so maybe I needed to make the holes bigger. And one recipe suggested that you split the dough in two and make it very thin. Careful, it's hot. But I'm going to tell you this with the cheddar, because it's a, you know, that drier cheese. These kind of cook together, but they are crispier, and they actually do have that flavor. Oh my God, they're crunchy. Oh, I'm so excited, you guys. Okay, I'm glad I actually made a test batch of these. So for those who might just be coming in, these are gluten-free Cheez-Its. And yes, I know you can buy them, but they're so hard to find around here. And my local grocery stores don't carry them. The local Meijers do, but the Kroger doesn't seem to want to carry them. Either that or they're just really hard to get. But I pre-made this batch, and then we've got the batch of the pepper jack cheese in there. And we'll see how those turn out. Because those are they're that little bit fattier cheese. But I think letting them sit on this hot surface is helpful too. And I'm just kind of pulling these apart. And some of them, like this one, it's not really crunchy because it was thicker. So if you want them really, really crunchy, you need to make sure you get them good and thin. And I am not the greatest at rolling things out thinly. So I will cop to that. Honestly, if I made them again, my husband doesn't like to roll either, but I think what I would do, the one recipe said to split the dough in half, and I think that's what I would do so I could make it nice and thin. And then maybe before cutting, I might put it back in the fridge for a little bit. I think it would be a lot easier to deal with. Hi, Tandy. Thanks for stopping in. That's true. If you are gluten-free, this is so nice to know, because I do know I'm in enough gluten-free and groups and stuff that I have seen that a lot of celiacs have reacted to the gluten-free Cheez-Its. But this way, you know what goes in it. It's super simple. If you wanted to dry it out even a little more, instead of using gluten-free flour, you could probably use almond flour, because that tends to make things a little drier. You might want to try that even. But I think the smaller cuts for number one are the way to go, because the bigger ones are all mostly soft in the middle. But these smaller ones are almost all, you can just tell that they're crunchy. But the bigger ones, the ends are, but like the middles, there's no snap. Flavor's still good. Like I said, this is sharp. I think you could do extra sharp even, and they would taste really, really good. Because a couple of the recipes also called for the extra sharp instead. So the other thing I might do, and we'll see how the pepper jack ones come out, but if you've got the oilier cheeses or the fattier cheeses, I think I might add a little bit, maybe even up to a quarter cup more flour. But again, I'm also going to remind people, and if you see me bake, you'll hear me say it over and over again, you need to let your dough sit. And that's the nice thing about making them into the squares and stuff. And I just realized we forgot to put the rounds in. Oh well, we'll bake those on the next round. What? Dough? Oh, show them? You're not helping me. So he just goes like this, and I don't know what that means. But anyway, yeah, if you've got the fattier cheeses, I would definitely add a little more flour. I would chill them again. Nothing complicated, just a few extra steps that would make them even better. Yeah, we could make them in the air fryer, but I'm not sure. Our air fryer doesn't cook. Oh, pop these in the air fryer? I wonder. Okay, we'll try that. I don't think they'll be done in time, but we can try it. All right. So we made those round ones. I don't know if you remember, but we did that. And then I'm going to, they're curled here, so I'm going to give them a little more of the paper. And then we'll pop them in the air fryer. So IT guy and I can usually communicate very well, but I'm off today. I can tell you that. My brain's just, my ADHD is off the hook today for whatever reason. So, I mean, I ate well. I ate healthy yesterday. I slept well. I didn't walk, which exercise always helps. So let's see. We'll go at, oh, not that, air fryer. We're going to go at 375 for, I'll try about 12 minutes. I don't know if we'll still be around by the end of that, but we'll see. Yeah, we do kind of have a secret language sometimes. We get it. We kind of think alike. So which is nice. I kind of have that shorthand with my husband as well. So it's fun to have that. So I'm going to clean up here a little bit. Oh. But then tomorrow we are going to gluten-free some brownies. We're going to make some gluten-free brownies. And yes, I'm using a box. We're not doing this homemade because I just don't make brownies homemade. And then we're going to make gluten-free Rice Krispie treats. So, and they're not Rice Krispies because Rice Krispies are not gluten-free. So that's one of those things, you know, all these little things that you really don't know have gluten in them. Usually where it sneaks in is not in the wheat, but it's in other things. Like something called maltodextrin is made from barley malt, and barley has gluten in it. So again, if you were around the other day when I was talking about toppings for the hummus, you know, this one right here, I've been eating it, didn't even think about it because I have this one that actually says it's gluten-free on it. So I thought, oh yeah, these chili crisps are fine. Well, this one has dry soy powder in it, and that happens to have wheat in it. So it explains why I haven't been feeling great, because a little cross-contamination isn't devastating for me. The last time I had like a devastating reaction, I had been told by several people that this whole gluten-free thing was in my head. And you start to wonder if they're not right, because it just doesn't seem like something that just pops up. But I got really sick one day. I mean, really sick. Like, hurry and run to the bathroom kind of sick. And while I was in there, I'm thinking, I didn't eat any wheat. I had gone out to lunch, but I hadn't eaten any wheat. And then I was like, hey, wait a minute. I ate some beef barley soup. I wonder if barley has gluten in it. Sure enough. And I was sick for 3 days. It took 3 days till I felt normal again to get it out of my system. And my joints felt like they were on fire. My stomach hurt. Every time I ate something, my stomach hurt. It was just awful. And I haven't eaten any wheat, barley, or rye except by accident since then. And that was several years ago. And I feel so much better. And the first time I stopped eating wheat, about 3 weeks after I stopped eating wheat, I got out of bed. I used to have to get out of bed and stand right there. And I called it recalculating, because I had to let the pain go away enough that I could take another step. And I thought, my God, I'm only, I was in my 50s. I'm like, I shouldn't have arthritis this bad. And 3 weeks after I stopped eating wheat, I got up and I took a step without recalculating, and it didn't hurt. And I was like, whoa, what's this? And then I thought, okay. And then the next day, the same way, the next day, the same way. And until I made a mistake and didn't think about what I was eating, and I ate something that had the barley in it. My joints stopped burning, all that stuff stopped. So, hi Marley. So anyway, that's my particular way of experiencing when I get glutened. It's very unpleasant. My stomach gets really, really sick. Thank God I'm in some groups, and somebody asked one day, what do you do when you get glutened? And a lot of people said they take something called activated charcoal. I am not a medical professional. I am not telling anybody to do what I do. I'm just telling you this is what the group said. I tried it when the last time, I forget what I ate. And I said it had to have had wheat in it. Even though it said it didn't, it had to have, because my stomach hurt so bad. And about an hour after I realized that, I went, oh yeah, I got that activated charcoal stuff. And I took it, and my stomach felt so much better in about an hour. I wasn't sick. Like, I didn't have to, I could get off the couch. Let's put it that way. I wasn't either on the couch or in the bathroom. So I could actually function. I didn't feel great, but it took the pain away, which was lovely. So, and that's why a lot of people who are gluten-free, who even, I don't test celiac, but, and the first time I had it done, it was an allergy test, and I didn't realize you're actually supposed to eat it. I hadn't been eating it for months. But the other time was you can have a blood test. My doctor did a blood test, and that one you don't have to have, apparently you don't have to be eating wheat to have the markers for celiac. And I don't, but I absolutely just feel like a different human being when I don't eat it. So, and it's so weird because I have allergies. I know what that's like too. I've had I had an anaphylactic reaction to tuna fish when I was a kid. So canned tuna and I don't get along very well. And then I call it the tickle. I know when I'm allergic because that's what the anaphylaxis felt like before it was full blown. So I've been lucky enough that The allergies that I have, it's like I get that indicator, and if I stop, it tends to not go any further. So, it's no fun to know that that's coming, because when I was a kid, it was scary, and my mom didn't know what was happening. So rather than calling an ambulance, she drove me to the doctor. And by the time she got to the doctor's office, my eyes were swollen shut and I was having a hard time breathing. And thank goodness they had, I don't even remember what they gave me, probably epinephrine, but they gave me something that helped immediately, and then gave me a liquid because I was a little kid. Um, People didn't have like the inhalers and stuff, and the EpiPens and things didn't really exist, but there was a medication that I could take. And every time I felt the tickle in my throat, I had to take the medication. So I know what those reactions are like too. It's not fun. And so when somebody says they have a severe allergy to something, I take that very seriously because I know exactly what that's like. Um, and Anyway, so that's kind of where things are. What do we got? 1 minute left on the pepper jack ones, and I'm gonna try them. Okay, I'm a baby when it comes to spice, so this is a big deal for me to try these. But we'll make some space for that, and hopefully, Mr. 513 is around here somewhere where he can. Is he upstairs? Is he sleeping? Poor guy. He's working nights. So, well, ask if you want to. Well, after you get that out, if you want to go ask him if he wants to come try one, because these are for him. And this will be a road trip snack for him. That's kind of what the theme is all week, is road trip snacks. And that's the other thing about when you're gluten-free. I am going to be prepared for anything. Once we get to Minneapolis, I'll be fine. But, it's 10 hours there and 10 hours back. I may not be able to find somewhere where I can eat. My husband has to eat. He's a type 1 diabetic. So we will find something for him, even if we drive through a fast food place. But there's a lot of fast food places that are just not safe. And again, I don't need to be sick on the road. So I will opt out as opposed to eating something like that. So I look like I'm packed for a week of food sometimes, because you just never know. And we're staying at a hotel where we've got free breakfast, and I don't know that I'll be able to eat anything. We'll see. But yeah, those are as good as it's going to get. That's interesting. They don't look near as good as the other ones. So there's our pepper jack ones. And that may be because of this particular cookie sheet as well. They're a little browned around the edges, but I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to pull them apart. Some of these are going to be real crunchy because they're very brown. So all that stuff makes a difference. And so that's why baking can be a challenge for people sometimes, because just a change in humidity can change how something turns out. And it can turn out for you 100 times beautifully, and then if your conditions are different enough, it's not going to turn out once. And you're like, wait a minute, I've made this a dozen times. So you got to be willing when you're cooking to go with the flow a little bit sometimes, and just have it not be perfect. And I know that's really hard for some people. I'm not a perfectionist. It has got me in trouble more often than not. I think the ADHD, I do know ADHD people who have perfectionism, and it's really brutal on them. And I feel bad for them. I really do. Now, there's the other end of the ADHD spectrum where they don't care about anything. And that's not good either. But, which is why several of them have, many, many jobs and that kind of thing. So we're getting these pulled apart here. So yes, we talk about gluten-free on here, but we talk about a lot of other things too. So just the way it goes. But that's life, you know? Life is... Anybody else love to just kind of hang out in the kitchen and just talk about stuff? I do. I like to cook and talk about stuff. And I have friends who are like, I was not made to cook. I was made to sit and talk to the person cooking. And I'm like, come on over. I'll cook for you. So anyway, so here we go. All right. Pray for me. Because they do, actually. They look nice. They don't look like Cheez-Its, but they look nice. Okay, I got one that doesn't have a lot of... Is it back? I'm thinking it might have gotten turned off by mistake. We'll see. I'll switch over if that's the case. Okay, sound's back. All right, good. All right. Oh, dear. We didn't keep a very good eye on those. So thank you, Christy. Okay. It's got a little overdone, which is unusual because... All right, I'm going to stick those on there, and then I'm going to put this back in the... Okay, we overcooked them, some of them, but... Oh, let's go back in there. Oh, hot, hot, hot. All right. No, he doesn't have to speak on camera either. I know he doesn't want to. All right, I'm going to give you one. I had one that had no peppers in it at all. It was very mild. So he's going to try one. It could be spicier, right?
Mm-hmm. I need a spicy dip, but
yeah, I knew that's what he would say. I need a spicy dip to go with it. So, so he'll be happy. We'll let those cool, and then we'll. But if you can see, they got like a nice. Again with it. Yep, that's what he would do, dipped in hot sauce. So, gonna have to make sure we get these guys charged up tonight. You know what? I'm just gonna hold it. I'm not gonna be doing much more anyway. But yeah, we'll be loaded up with snacks thanks to you guys. Sorry about that. We'll work on that for tomorrow. Make sure everything's charged up and ready to go. Like I said, it's been a little crazy around here, but with Mr. 513 working the overnight shifts and all that kind of craziness. So anyway, they came out. I'm so excited. We've got our very puffy, cheesy cheddar ones, and then we've got our not too spicy more Cheez-It looking, I guess, other than no flutes on the sides, because I tried it, you guys. I'll show you the wheel. This is cool now. Yeah, I don't know what I did with the wheel. So you could have gotten it instead of just pointing at it. Okay, so the flutes aren't very. So I just kind of got stuck in all those flutes. So it just didn't work. But that's okay. Live and learn. So we'll try something like this again, maybe sometime in the future. Yeah, exactly. It is real life. So I'm going to tell you real quick. If you want to have it, so it'll be here at the end. You can come get it if you need it. It's 8 ounces of cheese, 1 cup of gluten-free flour, and I use King Arthur's 1-to-1. It calls for a teaspoon of kosher salt, but that is to sprinkle over the top. I use Diamond. I think it's the best. And then 2 tablespoons of cold water, a 1/4 cup of cold butter, and cold is better. That's why this, I think, came out a little flatter like it did. And then you cook them at 375. We ended up going 19 minutes with the first one and 17 with the second. So somewhere between 15 and 19 minutes, depending on your cheese. So that'll get you. Hopefully that'll get you. And then tomorrow we're going to the sweet side again. We're going to make some gluten-free brownies, and we're going to make some gluten-free Rice Krispie treats, 2 of my favorites. So we will see you tomorrow at 3:30. And while I'm thinking of it, on Thursday, we're going to go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this week. And on Thursday, we will be live at noon, because we will be taking off not long after we do our video. So I appreciate you, Christy. I appreciate you being here. You're one of my loyal people, and I cannot tell you as a creator how absolutely wonderful it is to have people who show up and who engage. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for that. I've had a lot of fun. You've always made it fun and interesting, and I love that, we give feedback, and you've helped me out when things have gone wrong and things like that. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys back here tomorrow at 3:30. Have a great one. See ya. Bye-bye.